We're out there.
All right, let's go. All right. Hello. Talking to the microphone. Good evening. Welcome to the Bay St. Louis City Council meeting, April 8th, 2025. Please turn all of your cellular devices off. We'll start the meeting with a prayer by Reverend Reed, followed by the pledge.
Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now, Father, as we stand today in the city, Father, we just pray, Father, for your wisdom and your insight, your comprehension upon this council and upon this administration. Father, your wisdom, it said that it was there with you, and even in the beginning when you created the heavens and the earth. That's the kind of wisdom that we need, Father, not only to direct our city, but to live a life that pleases you. So we ask this, that you would crown our heads and crown our lives with it. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, any agenda amendments needed? Anything to be added, taken off? All right, announcements, April 22nd, 2025, primary runoff election day. The next council meeting will be the 23rd. Says 22nd here, but isn't it the Wednesday the 23rd I saw somewhere?
Currently, it's the 22nd is our scheduled meeting, and under council agenda,
Changing it.
we're making a recommendation to y'all
Okay.
to reschedule that to the 23rd since it's the election night.
Yes, sir. I know I read it somewhere. April 23rd, blood drive at City Hall from 10 to 4. A few guests on agenda tonight. Child Abuse Awareness Month, Hope Haven. You got a proclamation or something to tell us?
Good evening. It's an honor to stand before you today as the Executive Director of Hope Haven Children's Advocacy Center in recognition of Child Abuse Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness and provide hope in the forms of prevention, intervention, and advocacy. At Hope Haven, we minimize trauma by providing a safe, child-friendly environment where children can speak up, receive support, and begin their journey toward healing. In 2024, Hope Haven provided 95 forensic interviews and support services to children of Hancock County. Last week, Hope Haven and its multidisciplinary team partners planted 95 pinwheels in front of the Hancock County Courthouse to honor the children who had the courage to share their stories of abuse last year. The pinwheel is a whimsical symbol of a happy, carefree childhood and represents the belief that every child deserves the chance to grow up healthy and safe. This month, we invite you to join us in spreading awareness by planting your own pinwheel, wearing blue, and advocating for prevention, as well as signing the proclamation that we have today. I've invited my board of directors to attend with me this evening, so Rachel Knight, Greg Pothman, Paula Fairconatu. I did good. A year ago, I couldn't pronounce her name. I've been working on it. And Miss Mary Bunch, and here comes Lauren Blake as well.
Hey, Lauren. Welcome.
And I've asked Rachel Knight to read aloud the proclamation.
The proclamation for Hancock County Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas every child deserves to grow up in a safe, nurturing, and stable environment free from abuse, neglect, and whereas child abuse and neglect have devastating consequences for victims, families, and communities, impacting physical and emotional well-being, educating achievement, and future success. And whereas the Child Advocacy Center, Child Protection Services, educators, law enforcement, medical and mental health professionals, and volunteers work tirelessly to protect children, provide intervention services, and promote prevention efforts. And whereas prevention is key to breaking the cycle of abuse, and communities play a critical role in supporting families and ensuring children's safety. Whereas raising awareness through education, outreach, and community engagement can strengthen families, support caregivers, and empower individuals to report and prevent abuse. Whereas the blue ribbon and the pinwheel symbolizes hope for a future where all children can thrive in a loving and secure home. Whereas Hancock County is committed to recognizing the importance of Child Abuse Prevention Month and encouraging collective actions to protect our most vulnerable citizens. Now, therefore, this is Mike.
I, Michael J. Fall, of the City of Bay St. Louis, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Throughout this month and beyond, I urge all citizens to join in supporting efforts that promote the well-being of children, strengthen families, and prevent child abuse and neglect in our communities. In witness thereof, I hereby set on my hand and cause the seal of Bay St. Louis to be affixed on this 8th of April, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'm so sorry, Jean, but Jean Hoffman is also on our board, and I don't know how I didn't think to mention you. It's because of Jean I had this job opportunity, so I definitely owe you an apology, Jean. We also invite you to join us this Sunday from 4 to 6:30 in the harbor for our Men Who Cook event. This is our annual signature fundraiser. It's our second year to do it. Last year we had a great time for everyone that was there. All proceeds from the event will go towards Hope Haven's programs and services that provide support for child abuse survivors and their families who are on their journey to healing and justice. I also want to say a special thank you to the men in this room who have signed up to be a Man Who Cooks at our event this year. So Mike, Jean, Josh, am I forgetting anyone? No, but I feel like I just got called out, Jason.
Jason Duck.
Next year.
Yeah. So thank you again. I recently shared with someone, I think it was at our award luncheon the other day, but I am always amazed when people come forward and offer to support Hope Haven. Not that because it's a great cause, so that doesn't shock me, but just the generosity of our community and the people that are willing to pitch in because they truly care about their community and the children in the community. It is so rewarding to be in this role and have this opportunity. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll get the seal.
Okay, Ms. Scott, Tobacco Free Coalition? No? Ethan Moffray? I'll go back. Go ahead.
Sorry. Hello, my name is Ethan Moffray. I'm with Boy Scout Troop 316. I'm here to hopefully get your approval for my Eagle project. I would like to build a flag retirement box to hopefully maybe place at City Hall or the library, wherever it's convenient. Every Veterans Day, my Boy Scout troop goes, we grab the flags, we will retire them. We usually bring veterans with us. We've been doing this for quite a while, but we've never had the actual opportunity to build one. So I do have plans for them, blueprints, if I can pass them out.
Sure.
Yes, so these are the blueprints. We'll probably paint them white. We'll have a American flag symbol on it. We'll have a eagle symbol on it for Eagle Scout. That's it.
Well,
All right.
Mike, can y'all handle that, or a place for them in the city hall, or,
Yeah, we'll find a place to put them, yeah.
yeah, here you can, either way.
Okay.
And so what do you have to do to become, you work on an Eagle Scout?
Yes, sir. It's called a service project. We basically build something that would help out the community, and I do really think this would help out. We'd be able to get all the retired or ready to be retired flags into one place, and then we can collect them every 2 weeks, maybe every week, and bring them to the scout huts.
I got about 10 at my office if you want to come pick them up. We do a lot of.
Ethan, did you have a place in mind that might be the most beneficial place?
Yeah, I think City Hall would be
Right.
really well.
Within City Hall, is there anywhere you think it might be most prominent?
I believe wherever convenient. I don't exactly have a specific
That's fine,
location, but
Okay. Well, and we'll work with administration, Mike. You identify a good spot. And
We'll find some.
yeah, it's great, Ethan. Thank you so
All right.
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Let's see. Chris Johnson? Loading, unloading zones?
Council and Mr. Mayor. I'm Chris Johnson. I'm an attorney here in Bay St. Louis. I think I know most everybody up there, and I won't bore you with all speak. What I want to say was to bring back to the attention of the council an issue we've been dealing with out in front of my clients, the Blind Tiger downtown. And I would say, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I would suggest to you they probably have some interest in this too. And I can say that while we've been having this conversation over the last little while, things develop and you learn the process. And so very simply, we came up here to talk about delivery loading zones downtown, and it sort of transmogrified into also we've got a problem getting our garbage bins in and out of their enclave in the middle of the restaurant that faces Beach Boulevard, because there's parking down there, and so we're blocked in often because people don't know any better, and they park in front of our garbage bin area, which also is an ADA ramp, I might add, which would behoove us to also block off to prevent people from blocking that only ADA ramp right there. But in any case, this is not an argument with the city or anything like that. This is just a growing pain that I would imagine business down there, certainly the Blind Tiger, is having because of the fact that we're overrun with tourists, which is good for all of us, certainly for my clients. But we have the logistic problem of every morning that when the garbage truck comes by, we're having to fight with the traffic. So I have now, I've been between court sessions looking at the law back and forth, and I think I understand better the process. I think we will come back before the city with a formal request to allow us to designate a couple of parking spaces out in front of that restaurant as a restricted parking area at certain times. I think it's both the garbage and the delivery trucks, which sometimes are 18-wheelers, but they're more often 12-wheel trucks, I think, are down there parking in the middle of the street at 7 in the morning when people are trying to get to school and so forth. It's not a gripe. What it is just a timely problem. Now, while I was looking into the law about this, I believe that's a state-owned road, Beach Boulevard. So I don't know if it's as simple as designating other loading zones throughout the city, because I'm not sure the rest of the roads are subject to scrutiny the way that a state-owned highway is. So I'm suggesting that probably down the road, if we get what we want, which is really a couple of spaces, from, 2 in the morning to 10 in the morning, something like that, which would cover both garbage and deliveries from the supplier. That'll satisfy, but I do believe that if y'all decide to do that, I think it's the mayor's prerogative, according to the city, to city laws, to designate these things, but I also think that then it has to go to the county engineer, and then with his approval, I think it has to go before the county board of supervisors. I don't anticipate that would be any kind of problem, but I'm not a politician.
When
So,
Mr.
go
Johnson, not
ahead.
to
Yes,
cut
sir.
you off,
Yes,
kind
sir.
of twofold question here.
Sure.
So I know about a year back, Mayor, we designated an area down Main that was a loading, unloading zone, kind of parallel to
Hancock Bank.
Bank and also across from Pearl. So is that not what's transpiring? Is you have trucks that are going and making deliveries to all of these, the vendors going to all these restaurants? Are they
No.
parking there?
No.
We have a study going on, I think Jason has finished up, pedestrian crosswalks down there along with, unloading zones all the way from the railroad tracks to Demotladen Street. We're in the final stages of that now, and that should take care of all this.
But I thought that was the reason we it really predicated around cutting those, because that was public parking, and we
Yeah.
designated those areas.
And it's
loading,
unloading
unloading.
zones,
So
24/7.
is that not being utilized for all the vendors
Not
for the
all of them.
restaurants?
No, sometimes
not
they all show
transpiring.
up at the same time, 11 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning.
And then,
So,
okay.
so with that study that Jason has finished up, it's just being looked at, make sure we have everything there for, like I said, for pedestrian crosswalks along in there. If any ADA sidewalks need to be cut in to match up with the other side of the road. And then we'll also have a set time to where there will be no parking in these areas.
And it does, and I did take a look at the area when Mr. Johnson asked to come speak of this. It does look like there's an establishment right across the street from the client of Mr. Johnson that does have no parking signs. Were those approved from the city and the county to have no parking, will be towed at owner's expense? Is that something, because I think that, Mr.
I
Johnson,
don't
that's
know,
kind
that's
of what
been
you're
there
asking
before.
for, right?
I think that's been there longer than I have.
Oh, those have been
Yeah.
there for,
I
Been
could
there a
feel-
pretty good while.
I
So-
could feel that.
but
one.
we have the ability to, if they're not compliant signs,
Yeah.
to take those down.
Well, I mean, we got the ability to, if he wants a sign to put up in the meantime, we got the ability to put a sign up there, for a couple of hours in the morning. Garbage trucks used to come 5, 6 o'clock in the morning before anything got started down there. And now I think they come in the middle of the morning more so than
I-
early morning.
Mr. Mayor, I think that they are, what happens is because of the garbage bins, they roll, sometimes they get blocked, so they have to double back and come back to
Ah,
the garbage.
Yeah,
So
I don't
that's-
know.
And you're
But
having,
as far as-
you're having issues with people parking in those designated spots
Yeah,
we
so
can roll
that's-
off.
Yeah,
Yes,
we can, I
that's
mean, if
right.
we need to block them, no parking 4 to 6 something, 6 to 8, 6 to whatever, just for that right now. And again, the whole comprehensive plan on that Jason's doing is gonna address all this.
Yeah, which we discovered during the conversation. But the bottom line is, I just wanted to bring back to everybody's attention. I would like to throw in my 2 cents. I also have an office down there and I'm around that traffic a lot. I also ride my bicycle down there first thing in the morning, and so I see this developing a lot. This is just my personal suggestion from where the Blind Tiger is, which is more or less straight out the end of State Street, down to the end of Main and Beach Boulevard. There's 12 parking spaces. I would urge y'all and Jason to consider making all of that loading zone because of this reason. People walk out in that traffic. People take off from that Main Street and Beach Boulevard intersection, and they get up ahead of steam. And by the time they get that Demotladen, they're going 40 miles an hour. I would love for y'all to consider lowering that speed limit through there. And also, maybe you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and make delivery areas and golf cart parking or something like that. Because the way it's set up right now, when people are walking down that sidewalk, especially with kids, they can't see over there. And they step out all the time. It's a miracle nobody's got killed. But these are just things to think about. And I wanted to bring y'all's attention to it, and I appreciate y'all letting me come up here and talk. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We'll get some temporary signs for now, Mike, there. We'll get some. All right. Let's see, Connie Voigt, Nikki Moon, Penny Kelly, traffic.
Penny could come, and Nikki's making me talk, and I'll make it short. Nikki and I live on the corner, not, across the street from each other. We live on the corner of Central and Cary Court. And because we're on the St. Charles side, and we've lived here for exactly 4 years in the Bay. So I'm not a newcomer anymore. But since we moved in, we have helped assist with at least 8 accidents at the corner of St. Charles and Central, because we can hear it. We can hear the crashes. We have watched kids while their parents deal with the police or their car or whatever. It happened to give their kid over to a complete stranger who just showed up and said, hey, whatever. But I've also had people come to my door and thank me in the following days. But we need some traffic. We need 2 things, please. Lines down the road. We need to have lines down the road.
We need striping. Central.
Striped road, yes. Because right now it looks like a dragway. And so the people who are, want to speed, just be like, oh, I'm going to speed all the way to Nicholson. And that's what they do. If I had a thing, or Nikki, if we had a gun, we could, we could clock people at 60, 70 miles an hour on that road. And it's worse on the weekends. If there could be stop signs installed at, on Central, at St. Charles, that would force people to stop. And does the second thing. I don't know how, I'm sure you all have come up St. Charles and crossed the railroad tracks. It is almost impossible to see, to make, for instance, if we come up St. Charles and want to turn left to go to our house, we have to creep out into Central to see any traffic. That's just asking for an accident to happen. And it happens a lot. People come over the railroad tracks, they pause, other people are speeding. It's really bad. If we had stop signs there, it was basically like it is at Nicholson, where there's a yield sign at the tracks and 3 stop signs. People stop, they wait for the people on the tracks, and then everybody can go in their respective orders. That would help immensely, just immensely, because somebody's going to get killed. I think somebody has been killed just prior to us moving here. But it's, it's scary. You're sitting there, you're watching like a Disney movie, and all of a sudden crash, and you run out and people are bleeding. It's just, it can be avoided. The speed limit's already 25. Nobody really pays attention to that, but myself and Tom and Nikki, there are people who pay attention to it. But so you can't really go any lower, but those stop signs would help us see when we're turning out. There was a bad accident at Cary Court in Central last year, and a neighbor got really hurt. So it happens there too, but it's worse at St. Charles. So we're just here to ask you to consider that, to see how we can get it striped as soon as possible, and to really consider the stop signs there. We would much appreciate that.
Yeah. Ms. Connor, thank you for coming. I know, Mayor, we've talked about this before in terms of, I think there's a inability to see what's coming on, especially going westbound on Central.
This is the same thing on the other end, where we put the stop sign on Old Spanish Trail and St. Charles. It comes out on an angle to where
almost more.
It's hard to see. Valentine is the same way, and Cary Court is the same way. Those 3 streets there back to back are 3 streets that come out on a hard angle. So, again, I think we had the police report for accidents passed out a while back. I don't remember what the exact number was, but there's in that area between these three streets or so, there's been, I would probably say, 8 may not be far off the mark for that, in that area. But there was some. They have up patrol out there trying to, get people slow down, but it's not just there; it's everywhere. One of the things I think the speed limit changes to 25 at St. Charles, going towards the bay, and it's 35 for a section in there, and it might even drop down to 25 coming out of Wayland. So we're looking at trying to just make the whole street 25 instead of the 35 mixed in with the 25 and all through
Well,
there.
It's 35.
And
It doesn't change to 25 until you're in the bay. It's 35 coming.
it's 35, it's 35 to St. Charles.
Yeah, that's where it changes. I think.
Yeah.
Well,
It's 25.
can we hear from Jason? Jason, what's some of your comprehensive plan on this? I mean, what would warrant, I mean, we know that, obviously, again, I don't think we're dealing with a speed control issue here. It's a matter of inability to see what's coming on from Central. So what would warrant putting some safety precautions there that would negate some of this?
Well, anytime you have an intersection that's not a 90-degree, it's gonna affect your line of sight. You know, we have that all over the town. I think
Where
reducing the speed
where do
limit,
the accidents come into play into that?
what's that, I'm
Where
sorry?
do the accidents come into play? Where we
Well,
have
you
an
can't
inordinate-
see line of sight is what I'm saying. So, that's one thing we've changed in the subdivision regulations a couple of years ago, was all those intersections had to be 90 degrees without, unless we could give you special permission for it, to eliminate some of this in the future. Striping the road would probably help. I don't know if a stop sign is warranted. I would say, why don't we get with GRPC, we could do a traffic count,
Can you say why that wouldn't be warranted there?
because I don't know the traffic count. Until we do a traffic
But I
count.
thought we did that, Mayor. We had traffic.
We haven't done
counts there.
traffic count at St. Charles and Citizen Street.
We've been asking this for a year. Why, I don't understand why we don't have that.
I don't
Let's
know,
get
but
it
we
done.
could go to GRPC and see if they could put out their meter to count the traffic. That's the first step you wanna do before you put in a stop sign, to see if it's active.
And I don't want to needlessly put in stop signs, but when you have 8 accidents, which the mayor just confirmed, that's probably online with Ms. Connie said, then that is a safety
8 accidents over what time period?
You have to ask the mayor. I don't know. He just
So 8 accidents out of 4 years, yeah.
So where does that compare against other intersections? Probably
don't know.
Exponentially more. So again, it's just safety. We're not trying to put a stop sign needlessly to control speed. I think it's the inability to see. I've seen it. I go down that street very often. You have to pull out and turn around and pull onto Central to see what's coming. And I think that's where obviously some of these accidents have occurred because of that. So.
The 8 accidents are just when we've been home in those 4 years.
Yeah.
We don't know what happens when we're not home.
Right.
I would have to agree, you know, I travel that same street every day to bring my daughter to school, and it is a hazard. And it's a hazard for anybody that drives it. I mean, because you do have to pull out a good bit and have to really turn your neck, and I'm okay with the stop sign there. It's up to the mayor. I don't think you need traffic count, spend money on that. I mean, just put the sign there.
Well, we're gonna make sure it's compliant.
I
with
don't,
MDOT.
there's rules and regulations about putting stop signs up, fellas.
Well, we got that. You put some on your street too.
I did.
and-
You
and
follow
I'm
rules and
done, Bob.
regulations.
Well, good. Let's do that.
Give you rules. I think I sent you all the rules and regulations required to put up stop signs. They're not speed control devices. They are for
Didn't say
safety
it was.
regulations.
Yeah.
If you ask MDOT,
No,
they
I'm
do
not
not.
talking about speed control. I'm
I
just
said
saying.
they're not speed control,
You
but
can't see.
right, line of sight safety is one of them, but they do, how much traffic count goes through that intersection, how many accidents happen over a prorated time. So as long as those criteria, because you keep putting stop signs up, and somebody gets T-boned, and Morris Bart gets a hold of it, says, these are illegal stop signs.
But Doug, we've been saying, this has been something we've brought up
Again,
for
I
over a
agree,
year.
if
So
they work,
we don't have
but
a
again,
traffic
you have
study.
you have to make sure you're compliant putting up stop sign. If not, they got them dinosaurs on all them billboards that'll be glad to help you.
I get that.
And the traffic count, there's no cost to the city. Gulf Region comes out and does that. They do it all over town, wherever you ask them to do it.
Well, let's do it. I don't know. It should have been done a while back.
Well, you
but-
should have asked for it.
Well, I brought this up, Mike. I brought this up over a year ago.
We did talk about this, and we said we could move forward with it, but there was no support from you or you moving forward to say, hey, let's do this.
What do you mean, no support?
Mike, that's
You
just
need a
false.
motion?
That's just, look, I
To
brought
call
this
for a
up
traffic
multiple
count?
times.
Look,
Let's get the traffic data
We're-
we need.
that-
It
you
should have
know,
already been
as-
done. Let's move forward.
we
Let's-
brought it forward before, gave numbers on accidents and all, and it ended right there.
But where was our? Did we not have a traffic study?
I don't know if we did that study
Well, we
now.
should have done that before that. That's not my call. That's something you need to be put in place.
But
Let's get
it never
radar.
was, say, let's look at it and put a stop sign there. You never said, hey, I want this stop sign here.
Let's get traffic.
You want to beat around the bush.
Let's get data. Let's
and
get
everything.
Data. Hey, Mike, let's get data.
We'll get it.
Unfortunately, we haven't done it yet. Let's do it now so we can prevent
We'll
any
get it.
future incidents. Yeah. So next time I'll be more frank in telling you what you got to do, but I got to be cautious because you are the administrator of this. So
No, you just need to support what's being done.
there's never
When
been
it
a
was mentioned.
non-support on that. So that's a
That's
false
right, there
claim.
wasn't support over it, Kyle.
That's a false claim, Mike, but let's move forward and let's do what we can to ensure that we have safety for all the residents in this area. This has been brought up multiple times. We should have had this traffic data. Should have had it. I've asked for having the speed data with the current police chief and the past police chief. Unfortunately, we don't have it. Let's get it done so we can move forward ensuring that we mitigate any future issues.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Anybody got any else on the stop sign? No. Miss Anita Warner?
Gary, just remember to go back to number 5 for the proclamation for junior
Yes, I'm
auxiliary.
gonna catch that one at the end.
Okay. On a better subject, maybe, than stop signs and speeding, I'm here today on Anita Warner on behalf of the Garden Club and also the Chamber Beautification Committee, because I want to tell you about Tercentenary Park. First of all, I want to thank the city for doing what we asked them. We were here in February and we said the park really needs work. It needs to be spruced up. It's half the stuff's dead. We asked to have the palm tree that had significant fungus removed. That has happened. We asked also that the boards be fixed around the statue. That's happened. And this week, the water lines have been extended. So we're very excited about that. Today, with the help of the boys from St. Stanislaus, we got a new load of garden soil put in all the beds. And our plan is next week, we're going to start planting. And this is the good news. On behalf of Catherine Oman, who's the chair of the Chamber Beautification Committee, we have 3 15-gallon Yuletide camellias that will be installed. These are really beautiful, and they're called Yuletide because they bloom around Christmas. And these are very significant plants that are being donated to us from Green Forest Nursery and Don Batson, who's up in Perkinston. He has really nice plants, and last year he gave us a bunch of trees, which we distributed to a number of nonprofits here in the city. Today, I would like to ask for a few more things. If it's possible, we would like a load of sand to fill in low spots in the park. There's spots where it's just dips. I don't know what was in there, but if we could just get some sand to put in the low spots in the park, that would be good. And then the other thing is, Mr. Batson is giving us river birches and Magnolia grandiflora. That's the big southern magnolia tree. And we would like to put in the river birches alongside the pickleball courts. River birches are a really nice landscape plant that has exfoliating bark. And I went out and measured today. It's 20 feet from the sidewalk at the pickleball courts to Almond. And then it's actually 12 feet from the sidewalk to where there is a guy wire to one of the pumps. So that 12 feet in between, we'd like to install the 4 river birch trees along there.
I think that's going to be parking. There's an intention for a sidewalk and a fence and parking in that area.
Okay. Well,
Long-term
then that
plan.
brings me to the next thing. We'd like to see a copy of the master plan for that area because we also have a Magnolia grandiflora, which is our state tree and which is protected, and we'd like to install one there. So if we could get with you, Mike, or whomever has the master plan for developing that area, we'd really like to install this tree because the trees are coming in next Monday. And we have the master gardeners lined up to help us plant the trees. So if you can give us a spot, we'd like to do that.
That put some shade over there because it's wide open over there.
Well, I know there's a big wide area. I also still like to put the river birch trees someplace. I mean, there were cars parked along the street today when I went out to measure that were people were playing pickleball. So you're gonna get rid of the grass and put.
Ideally, some angled parking.
Okay.
Mike, you need to speak into the mic.
Thank you. Ideally, the vision is to put angled parking to be able to put, coming right off the street and then going to a sidewalk for ADA and other access.
Okay, but can we get some kind of copy of the master plan to see where we could install some trees? Because it's wide open except for there's a grove of crepe myrtles on the backside by where the parking is in the back. Because we'd like to install some trees so you have some shade.
Is there a master plan, Mike?
I mean, we have a drawing of what we'd like to try to put down there, the 6 pickleball courts and things like that.
Well, then
Yeah.
that, that would be real helpful, because then we can say, okay, y'all are gonna do this, well then, how about if we put something here?
How big's River Birch? That gets big?
Excuse me?
The River Birch gets big?
It's tall. Doesn't get super wide. It's a tall plant. River birch tree. Likes water. If there's a low spot, it's a perfect place to put it.
And Ms. Anita, you mentioned
I'm
before,
happy to meet with you on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
on the before the pickleball, you mentioned about the area where the courtyard is by Hancock Bank, right?
I'm
You-
sorry, what?
Before the pickleball,
Uh-huh.
the area that you guys want to upgrade and do some fill
Is
at
it
the courtyard.
the Church Centenary Park? Yes,
Okay.
where Bienville is between the bank and
Correct.
Poses.
Okay.
We were in there today, and the Stanislaus boys were helping us, and there's real low spots in the lawn area.
Okay.
So we'd like if there's some sand, the city could give us some sand, then we can fill in those low spots.
We're able to get that done.
I mean, I'm sure we have, somewhere around. Don't need a whole lot, but need some.
I don't know if we have any sand. I'm
When,
sure
when,
we can
when
order
did we,
some.
when did the
I
city
know-
take that over from Hancock Bank? When
I was told that Leo Seal gave it to the city.
I don't know.
And
Do
I
we
don't know
when?
if he did it in '99 when they had the park established, or if he did it after Katrina. I just don't know. I just know Leo gave it to the city.
Do we know, Mayor, what that time was?
Nope.
But we can work with the Garden Club to make sure they get back and rehab that area.
Yeah,
where
well,
we get-
we're working on it, but we have these trees coming, and we'd really like to install them, and
I
that's
think
why
it's great.
I asked
I
if
think
we
it's
could.
great, yeah.
If we could get it done next week, that would be great. Find me a place to put a magnolia tree, and maybe some river birch. So I will get with you, Mike.
I wrote down to call you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Anita.
Thank you, Mr. Needham.
Let's see. Let's go back to proclamation Junior Auxiliary of Hancock County. Mike Barb. Y'all can come up.
Whereas the Junior Auxiliary of Hancock County, Mississippi, a chapter of the National Association of Junior Auxiliary, is dedicated to serving our community through charitable efforts with a special focus on children. And whereas the National Association of Junior Auxiliary encourages volunteerism, leadership, and service, inspiring members to make a lasting difference in our community. And whereas the Junior Auxiliary has demonstrated outstanding leadership and service in Hancock County, making meaningful impact on the lives of local residents. And now therefore, I, Michael J. Fall, Mayor of the City of Bay St. Louis, along with the City Council and all citizens, do hereby proclaim April 6th through April 12th, 2025 as Junior Auxiliary Week in Bay St. Louis. I encourage all citizens, organizations, and media to recognize and celebrate the valuable contribution of Junior Auxiliary volunteers.
You come up here and
Hi, I'm Caroline Hass. I'm a life member of Junior Auxiliary of Hancock County. I'm also one of the founding members. When we formed this organization back in 2019, it was hard to really imagine what it would grow into in just a few short years. But over the past, 6 years now, we've been able to impact hundreds of children. We've donated coats. We've provided programming for children on the autism spectrum. We've received national awards from the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries, and we are very proud to have a very strong membership of women, local women in our community, who are really dedicated to meeting the needs of our community through active service. So we do thank the city, we thank the mayor for this proclamation, and we look forward to continuing to serve the residents of Hancock County and especially Bay St. Louis. Thank you very much.
thank you, Ms.
And could I impose on the council to come and take a picture with all of us?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I can see. Can you see?
I can see.
Thanks.
Gene, would you mind coming to take a picture with the mayor for the pavement real quick while we get
Y'all stay here. Y'all stay here for the whole pavement.
5:45. I know I ain't gonna make it. I just razzing them.
Told ya. Your fault. Come on.
Practice take pictures without me. Mr. Birdie.
Thank you. Let's see. Motion to approve minutes. Any corrections need be?
Motion approved, no correction. She getting good at this.
Motion approved by Councilman Seal. We have a second?
Second.
Seal. Councilman Hoffman. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Mayor's report. Motion to overturn BSL Historic Preservation Commission's decision and authorize the demolition of the existing residence at 343 St. George Street. Y'all want to explain that one?
Yeah, I think everybody's got all the information, the pictures and all. They tried to do away with this house 2 years ago and was turned down, denied. As an engineer report from 2 years ago stating that the house is in that bad a shape, termites and everything. It is even in worse shape today, and we're asking that we allow them to tear the house down and overturn the historical committee's decision.
When was that decision, Mayor? 2 years ago?
2 years ago, they denied it, and then last month, they denied it again.
Well, and that was based on what decision of last month?
Because they're not into tearing houses down. I mean, that's why they didn't want to. It's an older house, but I think if you look at the picture, you look at the,
It really needs to come down.
it's a blighted
much
property
blighted
and
property
everything.
and
It's a
dangerous.
menace to the, to the neighborhood and everything, and it's just something that needs to come down.
No, I agree. I mean,
And they can
look at the
agree with
pictures.
it, it's just that they didn't want to be the one coming from historical to tear it down.
But isn't that their role? To advise, recommend what? Yeah, I get it. No,
I know
it
what
comes
you're saying,
down, but
yeah.
yeah.
And
I
we're
hate
working
overturning one of our
we're working
bodies.
on something with them now where we can add language for them to where we declare it a blighted, then it gives them the opportunity to go ahead and then allow them to tear it down.
Is there anybody from HPC? I don't see Cliff out there. See, he's the.
I think Cliff's stance is they're there to preserve and
Yeah.
make them rehab it, you know.
Well,
But they
yeah.
got to look at the situation. We
Well-
can't just put a broad swath that we got to save everything.
Right, well, problem is, right, we have a definition, demolition by neglect, right? This property owner's been owning this property prior to Hurricane Katrina. The property, I was there today, the main floor joist, the main beams on that house are solid. The new construction has termite damage. But this house has been neglected, that's why it's in the conditions it is. So in our ordinance, we have specific guidelines that people need to follow, and we're not following from the city standpoint. But when you have a house that gets in disrepair, it needs to be addressed at the time. Because this house is, I looked at it today, the pictures the engineer sent was very,
Yeah.
were very selected pictures that they took of damage. All the damage was the new construction. The main house, beams, floor structure is solid. There's nothing wrong with it, roof put on it. But again, this house is demolition by neglect, and there's penalties for that. And this is what happened to this property. So going forward, if you see houses that are falling in disrepair, there's a process that needs to be followed, or you will be tearing down all the structures. Right? And I wasn't all for, when Mr. Gray proposed this in 2000 or whatever, I wasn't for the HPC. But right, there is a reason we want to protect our heritage and culture. There's no reason this house cannot be fixed. The parts that are bad are additions that could come down. And I understand the neighbors want it down. I talked to Ree Elliott for a while. But there's a process, council, we need to read your ordinance, just familiarize yourself with it. So if you see a house become in disrepair, get on top of it early. That way it doesn't become a tear down. If they did something in 2005, 2006, 2007, on and on, we would have a rehabbed house instead of having one we're getting ready to tear down.
Well, right now, we're given no incentive to do that, Doug.
Well, and again, that's what they're recommending us do, right?
Well,
But
I'm
it is
saying, there's no incentive, we're just.
No, right. It
I
is
mean,
no-
there are grants from the Mississippi,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Department
been-
of History and
But
Archives.
it's-
It's been sitting there for 20 years rotten though. And that's
Well,
the
it had,
problem.
and we've done nothing, not, we, myself included, that didn't know the house was there and falling apart. If we'd have did something 20 years ago, the house could have been rehabbed and have been still standing today.
And one of the things is the people that own it, I guess it's the children, and they have no intent to do anything with it, no intent to ever come back to Bay St. Louis, and they just wanna get it torn down so they can sell the property.
Well, in 23, they proposed building a house there. They sent house plans October 23 that they want to tear the house down and build another house there.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, so again, and our ordinance says if if this house is torn down by neglect, demolition by neglect, permit cannot be given to that property for 3 years. That property cannot be built on for 3 years as a penalty. So again, you need to understand our ordinances, and if we want to protect the quality of the housing and structures in Bay St. Louis, again, I wasn't too keen about big government being everybody's business, but there is a sense of pride in your community. At one point, Bay St. Louis had the highest square foot per house building cost per capita in the state of Mississippi because of the old town cottages that people spending crazy money for in building. But if you want to protect your neighborhood, your community, these old houses are part of what makes us grand, right? So just be aware if you see houses that are falling apart, get on them early, instead of having to tear them down 25 years later.
Many good points, Doug.
Okay, is, property owners here? No?
They live off, I'm not sure where.
So, what, we tear it down, so we're gonna pay for it.
We're not tearing it
No,
down.
they tearing
We
it
just
down.
authorize it.
They're tearing it down. The owners are tearing it down? Okay.
But pursuant to what Doug just
All time.
mentioned, that if it's by neglect, then there's a hold on the permit for any future building for 3 years, correct?
Any further discussion? Let's see, is there a motion to overturn the BSL Historic Preservation Commission's decision and authorize the demolition of the existing residence at 343 St. George Street?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Councilman Hoffman, have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman DeSalvo. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Nay. Motion carries 5-2. Let's see. Next one. Let's see. Motion to waive rental fee for Bay St. Louis Train Depot grounds for Hancock County Tourism's Wednesday at the depot on April 16th, May 21st, July 18th, July 16th, August 20th, September 17th, October 15th, and November 19th of 2025.
Yeah, and what this is, this was started last year by tourism and all, trying to bring businesses from downtown to the Depot District. Little event during the middle of the week when nothing's going on. And it was a huge hit last year. This is the dates they're asking for this year. Would like to, it's tourism trying to help bring the two areas together, and it's just a pretty good event, and would like to just waive those fees for this.
Well, these are the recommended fees that you propose.
That's true, and y'all waived them for other things, so we're here to
Y'all
ask.
don't wanna do what y'all did last year and pay for them yourself?
That's what comes to, maybe we
If
should.
that's
I mean,
what
y'all
you
set
do.
a good precedent.
Yeah, we did. We should have joined in.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
So,
we have
I
a
mean, yeah,
policy.
again, we're here to ask, if you have anything, need to ask Mackenzie or whatever, please feel free.
Yeah, and I talked to a couple business owners that are in the depot, and I did just point blank ask them, how does that, look, no one's negating it's a good turnout, but I don't think they benefit from a business standpoint in the depot. So I'd love to hear from Mackenzie, and you're laughing, but I'd like to hear anything that says otherwise, but I spoke to business owners and said, no, it's not really bringing, that much.
I would be curious on which business owners those are. I have talked to a few of the businesses over in that depot row, and so far, from what I've heard, it's been a positive and profitable experience. One example, Uncle Joe's, they have a minimum of a $500 increase on those Wednesdays compared to the rest of the month when we have our Wednesday at the Depot shows. So it's been very good from that standpoint.
Mackenzie, are y'all charging vendors that come, outside of vendors that come there and set up?
No, so all the vendors, we require them just to be from Hancock County, and there is no vendor fee for them to be there. So we're trying to support all local business, and we're not trying to charge, overcharge the public to come or any of these businesses we're trying to showcase.
And, and again, great event, Hancock County, so do we have business from Waveland, Diamond Head come in and they, free of charge, right? I mean, our goal is not to denigrate from Bay St. Louis businesses that are right across the street. So, I feel like Bay St. Louis holds the bag for a lot of this to where everyone wants to come. Bay St. Louis is a great place. Everyone wants to come to Bay St. Louis. But Hancock County, where does Waveland fit in? Where does Diamond Head? Where does the county fit in to where they can help with some of the offset? Because we have costs. We've all discussed it. We have costs that, from utilities to cleanup, that if we were to waive this fee, that the Bay St. Louis taxpayers paid for versus the rest of Hancock County, Waveland, Diamond Head, the county residents. So I just don't want to get to a situation where we're always wanting to come to Bay St. Louis. Great, but we're holding the bag for it.
Which I completely agree. Those depot grounds, they're beautiful grounds and be able to utilize them. But I think it's awesome also to show off that we have that event in Bay St. Louis, and being able to show off our community just for Bay St. Louis and all of Hancock County, brings more to that depot region. And I lost my train of thought.
You're fine.
Hey, so I'm Rachel Knight. I am the president for Hancock County Tourism. So the reason we started Wednesdays at the Depot was to generate revenue for the businesses down at the Depot District. There's nothing going on a Wednesday night. This is to bring out the local residents, which the residents have accepted this very well. We do have the Silver Slipper come in. They sell the drinks, the wine, and the beer because they have the permit to do that. And then also too, we invite
They
people to
sell
come
at
in.
the
They
Depot
do,
grounds,
yes,
which takes
they do.
away because they do have a couple of.
It doesn't take away.
No, okay.
Because we have residents, they'll come in, they'll bring, people go to Uncle Joe's, they'll go have pizza, they'll go have dinner. We've had people, even our Rotary Club, they'll come in, they'll go buy, alcohol. So
Rachel,
what
do y'all
this
do
was,
this? And I'm sorry to interrupt. Do y'all do this in Waveland, maybe at Coleman, to where they
so
really
this
need an
started
injection?
here in Bay St.
Yeah.
Louis. So we are going to be looking at something which is totally irrelevant. But
Well,
we're
it's
gonna be-
Hancock County. It's Hancock County.
It is. It's
tourism.
Hancock County
Yeah.
Tourism, but we're specifically talking about Bay St. Louis right now.
Yeah, but again,
So
if
what
it's
we're-
Bay St. Louis tourism, would be great, but it's Hancock.
It's not
County.
Bay St. Louis Tourism.
That's what I'm saying.
So
but we're
we-
giving y'all the free rent there, or zero fees.
We have.
to
Have
where
you
we
ever
have
been?
expenses.
Have you ever came out to Wednesdays at the Depot?
I've not come formally. I've driven by many Wednesdays.
Okay,
Well attended.
I
A lot of
invite
people,
you
a lot
April
of people that
16th.
have ice chests that
I've-
come and
To
I've
come
been
out,
there and
yeah.
it is packed, and you go stand
Yes.
in line.
So,
and,
Rachel,
and-
Linda, how would you
right.
recommend paying
So
for
April-
the utilities and for the cost of cleanup then? Because again,
Well, I don't agree with y'all on all of this because I think this should be free because it benefits the depot.
It
gives
does.
things for the people to do. You can bring your kids to
Kyle,
it.
So you
April
want-
And-
16th, I want you to come out, and I want to see you at Wednesdays
no, I'm
at
not
the
going to give a
Depot.
referendum.
Well, and that's fine, but we have-
I'm looking at it from the taxpayer
Right,
standpoint.
and
that
from the,
we have
it's
to put the bill.
it's a $200 fee, depot fee?
Well, I would think maybe some businesses, because it brings so much,
Yeah.
they would have ability to sponsor.
Like local sponsors.
So what
Rachel, are
we-
they offered a spot from across the street at Depot to come over and set up if they want?
They are, and we've
And
invited
they all
them
denied,
to. Yeah,
but none of them showed up last year. Yeah.
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 We've tried as hard as we can to get the local vendors to come out. Wednesday night kind of starts off things, popping things down at, downtown Bay St. Louis. So we've invited, several vendors to come out and sell their, Social Chair has been one big supporter. Yuki to come out and she sets up her booth on the sidewalk to come out and sell her merchandise. We collect the taxes from that, and that's generated revenue. So, sales tax, right?
And I will say, one of the main goals I had with Wednesdays of the Depot was bringing community together, and with tourism and that being Bay St. Louis and Hancock County overall, I think our community is one of our biggest things to showcase. It's our community, it's our people, it's our local businesses that make us so special. And I think, you know, being able to have that in Bay St. Louis is something to be proud of, and that it was such a successful event that I'm beyond excited to state that, and that I'm here again this year asking for this, you know. But it's being able to waive these rental fees would help us out a lot, because we're not trying to overgenerate money. We're trying to cover costs on our liability insurance and our bands and supporting our local music and the community and the people that live here that make us so awesome. So that's why we're requesting this. You know, last year, the Arts of Hancock County, they were renovating their garden, their outside area for their sculpture garden. And so they were going to put their Art Without Walls event on hiatus. But we were able to partner with them, and they did their Arts Without Walls event with Wednesday at the Depot, which was fantastic. So I'm happy we were able to give them that opportunity. And then for this upcoming year, we partnered with the library, and we're going to have, we're trying to achieve more family-friendly and kid-friendly activities. So they are going to have a booth with either activities or crafts each month to encourage that, because I know that's kind of a need that Bay St. Louis and Hancock County needs.
Yeah, and you hear a lot from residents talk about there's nothing, you know, there's, you know, the parking issues downtown, and I think this is one real good event for locals to attend where they can just come out and have a good time. They don't have to worry about where they're going to park. They don't have to worry about what they're going to feed their kids for dinner. They can go right there to Uncle Joe's after and go feed their kids dinner. So I think it benefits the locals more than anybody to continue to have this event, and it would help us out tremendously if we could get the rental fees.
The biggest issue that I have is that these fees were, you know, brought in a couple years ago. And the problem is you're asking us to open the door, and then everybody wants the fees for free. Everybody wants to use the park. If that's what the mayor wants to do, then say, hey.
But y'all waive fees for others.
Right, so.
And you opened it, and it was told when you did this,
Arts
you
Live
opened
came,
it.
and I think we gave
This
them a
is
decreased amount.
This is an event that I've been to many times, and I think it's a wonderful community event. I see nothing but good things, hear nothing but good things from the citizens that show up. 90% of the people there, I know, they're locals, they live in Bay St. Louis, they love the area. And whether we go up to Uncle Joe's and eat that night, or we go to the Blind Tiger Butcher Shop and eat, you know, or we come back 2 nights later and eat again, I think it brings people to the area. It's developing the depot. It's part of our long-term development plan, which was why we spent the grant money on the depot and redid the grounds with the help of Mr. Falgout and others that were involved with that project, Mr. Knobloch as well, Mr. Reed and myself, as well as the mayor and all the council at the time. But I think for $200 a pop, I think we're losing sight of a great community event that can provide us
I don't
service
disagree with you,
and things
Mr.
to do
Hoffman,
for our kids.
but if you're gonna do that, then let's just waive all fees.
Or at least
I'm not saying
nonprofits.
we have to
We have
waive
a lot of
all fees,
nonprofits that come and
but
ask, and they all do great things for the city. So
Hancock
how do we
County
delineate?
Tourism is not a nonprofit group.
We are not.
We're a non-funded government entity, so
Similar to the
So maybe
chamber,
we can
similar
get
to
them the
other
nonprofit rates
organizations
and
that
have a little
we
give and take.
add subsidies for.
Yeah,
So
and
we can't add subsidies for this. All I'm asking is we put it to a motion and put it to a vote.
And I just want to toss out that I know I stated this last year with the same kind of thing, that it is in the middle of the week on a Wednesday. I'm not asking for the weekends and stuff like that. And with that, you know, 90% of those people being there being locals, you know, these are going to be your people that are renting that venue as well. So you're able to showcase, you know, the value in that and what it can be, especially even on a weekday night. And for 2024, our approximate attendance was 4,300 through that 8-month series. So that's over 4,000 people that were coming through that depot region, and whether they knew those businesses and, you know, those restaurants were there or not, I think it really helped in showcasing that and bringing that back to Bay St. Louis. And on top of that, which not much, but our total sales tax on the vendors that we did have, you know, a little over 6,500, you know, and I go through the Department of Revenue where that sales tax is coming back to Bay St. Louis.
Yes, and I agree. I mean, it's just same thing Mr. Hoffman said. A lot of locals went to it, and they felt it was an event for the local people during the middle of the week that that they could ride their golf cart too, hang out, watch the bands, enjoy it. So, that's why I was for it last time, and I'm for it again this time, so,
We have so many people
I mean,
that, I mean, just within the last month, we've had so many people that have came up to us, that have called us, emailed us, just cannot wait to get back down to the depot again, to start, you know, the Wednesdays at the depot. We're not asking for $1,000, like, per day. Just
Everything they
asking
make comes back into the community one way or the other. The money
Trying
they
to talk
make.
in the mic, Mike?
Yeah, the money they make off of this event and other things they do comes back into the community. It's not like they take and go and spend it somewhere else. It's tourism, they put the tax out, the money they make on this back and try to promote this community. This isn't, you know, some organization coming in trying to make money off of the, you know, for the fundraiser event. This is something that they do and do it very well for this community.
one
end of the
positive
day.
thing that, you know, we have going that we don't hear about the parking.
End of the day, we speak through our minutes, so if the President will entertain a motion, I'd like to make a motion to.
I haven't
approve it.
finished discussion.
If you want to follow, you're supposed to have a motion a second before you have discussion, so.
Well, I mean-
Do the rules correctly if you want to do them when you want to, but if not.
Don't disrupt this proceeding.
I want to
Josh.
make a motion.
Really? Well, I didn't open the floor, so we're not finished discussing.
Well, you're doing it wrong
Everybody
then.
else is talking. If you want to interrupt it some more?
I will, because you're doing it wrong. If you want to follow the rules, do them correctly. Don't do them wrong and then say you're doing them right.
Josh, why don't you go read the book?
Read it. I know what it says. A
Does
motion and a
anybody else
second is
have any?
required to open discussion.
Josh, contain yourself, please. You're making a fool of yourself.
I think you did a good job of that last week, but let's go. So, if Miss-
Anybody else got anything they want to add on this? Why don't you just finance it again like you did last time?
We appreciate any
If
support
I got
that
to, I
anybody,
will,
any
you
of the
know, but
councilmen has given us.
I think we spent grant money on the grounds. I think it's a good event. I think we get way more. There's other places even in the same building that are getting way more than this is. So I think it's just the right thing to do. I think it's good for the community.
Thank you.
I mean, you don't make.
So, we have a motion to waive the rental fee for Bay St. Louis Train Depot grounds. Hancock County Tourism went on Wednesdays at the depot on April 16th, May 21st, June 9th, 18th, July 16th, August 20th, September 17th, October 15th, and November 19th of 2025. We have a motion?
Motion.
You?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman DeSalvo,
Second.
second by Gene Hoffman. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries 4-3.
Thank you.
Thank you all for doing that for the community. Appreciate it.
I hope to see you all there.
Council business. Motion to move regular scheduled meeting Tuesday, April 22nd to Wednesday, April 23rd for the runoff. Y'all want to move this or?
Excuse me,
meet
excuse me,
regular?
Mr. Councilman. I mean, Mr. President. All right, so the motion passed that we're gonna waive the fees.
Yes, sir. For those dates I named.
Huh?
Yes.
All right, because now, okay, I was just thinking the whole time they were talking and the event, how it helps, you know, the area. We do several events at the Depot District with the Community Hall, and we pay full price. I mean, we reconcile children to their fathers. We reconcile families. We have one event where we have 300-400 men breakfast. We pay full price. And y'all pay full price for the rental? We just waived it.
That's not the community hall.
I mean, it's connected to the community hall.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's,
No, it's not.
it's,
It has nothing to do with the community hall. It's not,
okay, well, I tell you.
But again-
Okay, well, what we're gonna do, we'll just bring our event to the depot. The 400-500 men, and we're gonna ask for the same thing. And, I just want us to remember is that we're gonna ask for the same thing because,
Are you a government entity or a nonprofit?
well, that, my
We have two
ministry
separate rates,
is a
Gene, so it's-
nonprofit,
That's the distinction
but-
that I'm drawing.
Gene, we have two different rates. That's why we established profit for a
I
nonprofit.
understand
So,
that.
yeah,
But,
so they can pay either
our,
rate.
our community is built, you know, with family, you know,
It is.
and, these events that we do have, have brought, numerous, we have the data. I brought numerous restored families, restored, relationships, made the community better. It has, with these men, they've went from being boys to men. They've kept them out of prison, giving them to us out of prison, you know, rather than putting them in prison. What I'm saying is that we just take it out community hall, and we'll just do it out in the open.
What you're saying, Councilman, is how do you value one over the other? And that's what we've said over time and time again, is consistency, is how do we value one? Yeah, look, a lot of great.
Again,
great
you open this up when you gave it to others free.
Name one.
Arts.
Arts Alive paid, they paid a decreased amount. Yeah,
No, they
Arts
pay, they
Alive
paid
a
for the
decreased-
community hall, the grounds that the depot was given to them.
So they paid for the community hall, right? Which is a much more it's
It don't matter.
a higher rate.
It don't matter. It's two different venues.
Okay, so that's.
But we're not gonna sit here and argue this. It's a case-by-case base.
But there
Look
needs to
at
be
'em at case
consistency,
by
because
case.
how do we do a case by case and value one entity over the other?
Yeah.
That's the hard
This
part.
is
That's
a
why we
government
set, that's why we
entity,
set
and
rates
it
for
states in our
nonprofit.
bylaws on community hall, government entities, you can waive the fee on it, on our community hall, if they government
Why don't
entity.
you why did you even suggest the fees in the first place? These were
Because
your
everything's
fees.
not a government entity.
But these are your fees. You asked for this.
I did, and you waived them fees, Gary, a couple times.
Which ones, Mike?
You waived, I just told you one, then you waived
They
the,
still
for the
paid.
Historical Society, you waived
They
that
got
for the community
decreased
hall,
fees.
which is a government, you know, probably a government entity.
the fees
We're
are-
not gonna sit here and argue
got
over
weddings.
this.
We are arguing
So
about
the
it.
vote has happened, it passed, and
Yeah.
You have weddings there that pay, you have other venues that
Yeah.
pay. I think that's the difference in the grounds having fees is for when it's personal use for things like that. They
And
pay for those.
as the Tourism Bureau, we also, when we rent the community hall for Taste of Hancock County, we also pay for that. We pay just like everybody else. So
But we're talking about the depot grounds, and it's
We are
the one-
talking about
yeah.
the
you are, you got
And that's
Depot
where-
Building
but
where
we
there's
still
a
have-
a
we still
place
have a
in
lot
there, a
of-
nonprofit that don't pay
We
rent in
still have
there.
a lot of
You have
honorable
an
entities
event
come
that
in.
comes back, they don't pay anything, you know?
That's ours
So-
preach
At community
consistency.
hall?
Yeah. No?
Oh, okay. Because, you know, my
Look.
thing is,
We
I
all
would
got
rather help
reason.
them with their fees, and I don't mind doing this here, and I've done it before, I'll do it again. I would rather help them with their fees, you know, to be consistent. That's been I believe, the consistency of the council, that we reach in our pocket and we help rather than waive.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Let's see. Council business? Gene? We're on, motion to move scheduled meeting from Tuesday, April 22nd to Wednesday, April 23rd. We have a motion? Motion by Councilman Seal. Have a second? Second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Public forum, you got anything?
New old business for council.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I skipped over council business. Gene, you got anything?
No, that's not, thank you.
I'm good.
I'm good at this point.
I have a request. I think it was late January. We received an email that the Alice Mosley's Museum received a grant, and we requested some info, what all it included and how it was gonna affect the building and everything. We got like a little general reply. I spoke with Ronnie. He said he hasn't been contacted for anything, so if I could get Mr. Mike Russo, if we could get a detailed of what's been updated in the depot building, what's taken place, and maybe some receipts or something showing what's been done.
I'm sorry, can you be specific?
The Alice Mosley's Museum received a grant for $10,000. I believe it was January 23rd that I read the email from Lonnie Falgu. And it was supposed to cover waxing the floor, some technology, straightening and cleaning. And we requested a little bit info. We got a general answer just stating we're going to do this. And I just want to know what's been done and how. Meeting.
Well, he's standing right out there. Can you
Who
ask
is?
him?
Oh.
Can you ask Mr. Falgu to step in? I'm not up what he's talking about.
Do y'all remember?
Is that something we have to accept as a donation when it's done?
Yeah, we gotta accept an in-kind donation for it.
Go ahead and ask your
We
question.
gotta find out what the work is first, to find out if
Yeah.
it may not involve the city or our building at all. So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you receive a grant for $10,000?
You sent the email, I think it was about redoing the depot. You received a grant for the Alice Mosley, and you know, it's gonna do some
We did.
polishing the floors
We
and
did.
maybe painting or whatever
We
he's
did.
gonna do.
We did.
Shoot, Miss Linda was asking for an update on that, on what
Just
was done.
Where are we standing with that?
Oh, it's done.
It's all
It-
done?
We didn't touch the deep. If
Okay.
you remember,
Mhm.
Senate. No, the grant was from Coast Electric. If you remember, I came up and took out the grant.
Mhm.
But we can't legally, under the contract we have, touch anything. Depot, structure, the floor, paint, anything.
Okay.
But I think I sent it to Mr. So what we did was just actually redesign Alice Mosley Museum.
Okay.
Change the portable walls. There's nothing in there that's permanent.
Okay.
Okay, it's all portable because of our contract. Under historic, we can't do anything. So what you see, if you've been in there, and I wish some of y'all would go look at, we took the walls and we painted them. Our walls, we built them, not the deep.
So it's nothing we have to accept from the city, because if you ever left it,
Well,
Miss Portable will go with you.
Well, I'm glad the question,
Exhibit.
I'm not here for that. I was just here to listen. But the thing is that grant, we do have money left over, but since it's, we wanted to do the floors, but there was some spots that I've had trying to look at, some cracks in the windows. I think most of y'all have seen them. We were willing to do that, but we haven't got to that stage. The museum was closed down for a month to refurbish the museum, redo it, the walls that we put in there that are portable. We didn't touch anything in the exterior, so there's not to donate yet. We're gonna have one of the new director's gonna come to probably a few weeks saying, hey, we wanna redo the floor, paint it and stuff like that, and then stucco windows. There's some windows that are pretty bad shape that I think y'all need to address, but that's down the road. But no, there's nothing but the depot. It's up and rolling. It's back open. Yeah.
Well, some of the windows and stuff supposed to be addressed out of that last round of
Did that
grant
answer
money
your
we put
question?
into the depot.
Railroad
That
Yeah,
answered your
railroad money or something.
I had to check, see what was in that scope of work.
Okay.
I know
They
it's
did-
supposed to
they did do some
reglazing
plaster
and
work.
all.
They did do some plaster
Yeah.
work.
and some painting around the windows.
I thought something.
So they just painted around the windows, they didn't repair them.
No, they did some plaster work as well as painting on some of the windows.
But Mr. Falgu will need to get any kind of correspondence and approval from the city before anything's done for the
Correct.
permanent structure.
Yeah, we had to get the museum refurbished before we could get the building. But to be very frank, this is the only answer to the question. You need to look at these windows. I got the scope of the work, and yes, it was considerable work. You need to take a look at the windows. You need to look at some of the windows up there. You need to look at some of the windows downstairs. You need to look at the door, over that electronic door that's open and water pouring in there. So that's just because I'm answering the question, but that's the city's thing. I think Mr. Reese or Mr. Wyckoff, yeah, I think it was 200-some thousand spent, but there's additional work that needs to be done. So that answer your question? Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug? Anything? Good? All right, let's see. Public forum. Let's see, we have, Michelle Davidson on ADA. Michelle, would you need some help? You may get it.
Hi, my name's Michelle Davison. I live in Ward 6. First, I might need to invoke the Sam Moore time limit. I might be a couple minutes over.
Take your time.
I have, most of you know me. I've talked to Kyle on the phone before he was a councilman. He explained to me the ADA rules on square footage when Rags and Riches was built, and I wondered why there was no elevator to the second floor. He also wasn't familiar with why there wouldn't be an elevator, so we both learned at the same time about the square footage and ADA regulations.
I think you schooled me, Miss Davidson, on that one.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason that I'm standing here today on one leg, holding on to this podium for dear life, is because the Bay St. Louis City Council does not provide a spot for me to speak. That's the reason I haven't been here in so long. I used to be a frequent visitor to the council, as many of you know. I used to have things to say. I still have things to say. However, I've also been the treasurer of Post 6285's auxiliary for many years, and lately I've stepped up and I am the senior vice president of District 1 of the VFW auxiliary, which encompasses the entire Gulf Coast. This Saturday, I will accept the presidency of District 1. I realize that it's not just me. There may be a veteran in Bay St. Louis that has something to say and can't come to council because he's not welcome. I don't feel welcome. And this is my council, and I'm comfortable talking to every one of you. Most of you came up and gave me a kiss before council meeting. That's not right. It was over a dozen years ago. That was the first time I spoke to council seated behind this very podium, speaking and stuttering. I don't remember what I had to say, but it must have been awful important. And you're not going to, what was that movie? You're not going to put baby in a corner again. I decided I wanted to come talk tonight, and I was not going to do it seated. I was going to stand up and say my piece. There has to be somebody in Bay St. Louis that can build a podium exactly like this, but shorter. That's wheelchair height. I will gladly be the model. Call me anytime. If I'm not doing auxiliary business, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis, I'm sure if you call ahead, we can accommodate you with a small fold-out table until that can
I
happen.
don't want a small fold-out table. I want a podium.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you work on that, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe Mr. Adams or somebody.
John Oman? Oh, Miss Anita, you want to come back up?
My question is, what's going on with Orion in our new city code? Because there's lots of building in Shieldsboro, and as far as I know, we don't have any requirements that when people build new property that they have to landscape it. And it would be really nice if we required them to plant some trees. They don't have to be live oaks. Those lots aren't so big enough, maybe. But there's plenty of other things. In other places where I have lived, if you build a new house, you had to install 3 trees. It can be crepe myrtles, it can be river birch, it can be a magnolia, it can be a little gem magnolia. But you got lots of houses being built in Shieldsboro, and they got rid of the trash trees, and we have done a really good job of keeping after them to keep them from doing anything to the live oaks. But where are we with Orion and our city code? What's happening with that?
They're working on it.
when, they've been working on it for what, 2 years now, Mike?
No, ma'am. We took a year to do the comprehensive plan.
Right, okay.
And then after we approved their proposal for rewriting the zoning code, that's a year-long process.
Okay,
So I'm expecting to have a draft anytime in the near future.
okay. I appreciate that.
We are making progress. They are working on it monthly. They sell it, and we have invoices
Well,
for
I
the
know,
council to
I've seen,
approve.
I've seen the, you know,
So
in the.
it's not
y'all-
stagnant.
Yeah, I understand that part. I just want to emphasize the fact that I think we should require people who build houses to have to put in some trees. You see a lot of people and all they do is put some grass out there.
Does the current ordinance require that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Commercial properties do, but residential does not.
Thank you.
But I want to say that was something that has been discussed about adding to include it.
Mr. Omen?
John Oman, 110 Demont Avenue. Not to open recent wounds, but on waiving fees for public property. I didn't respond to your request for comment because it wasn't specifically about that group. But over however many years, I've heard these requests from nonprofit groups almost as often as you have. I'm not faced with having to weigh the relative merits of one against the other. That's your problem. But I've never heard anybody ask of any of the presenters up here, are you going to have to cancel your event if we don't waive these fees? You know, is your event contingent upon having those fees waived? And if it is, that's when you open the door for the generous contributions that have been made by councilmen in the past and others. But, you know, like Kyle was saying, that difficulty of comparing one to the other and having people stand up, I'm not looking at you, Councilman Reed, about, well, you didn't do it for me, or I got to do the other thing. Please, it's not easy, but make a rule and stick by it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Project updates, engineers report.
Good evening. We have 3 action items tonight for consideration. The one is authorization to advertise for bids, the ARPA Sewer Improvement Project. It's actually Phase 3. This is the Bay St. Louis Lift Station Assessment Project. If you recall, about 2 or 3 meetings ago, we came to you with 2 potential projects to be funded through ARPA. Phase 2 project, which is under construction right now, came in below the budget, so we have some additional monies that we would like to spend on the sewer system. One of those is to go through all the lift stations. I think there's 43 of them, do a complete overhaul evaluation, check the pumps, check all the control panels to see what kind of upgrade we need. That'll help us identify any deficiencies with the pump stations and any improvement that are needed for future flows. So that's what this project is right now that we're asking for authorization to advertise.
And Jason, just to my recollection, you guys did something similar to the city of Waveland, right?
That's right. We're
Identified
finishing up a
some
very
areas.
similar
How did that
project in
Tell me
Waveland.
a little bit about that. How did that go?
Extremely well. They learned a lot about their pump stations. We'll have another phase for that particular city to come out soon for those lift station upgrades.
Are we comparable in terms of the quantity of lift stations?
We are. I think they've got 42 and we have 43.
Where did that come in roughly in terms of having to make any upgrades or changes to parts or anything like that? Do you know? I know that's off the top
We
of my
haven't seen the final report yet, but we know that there were several pumps that did not have adequately sized impellers that they had to change out, several pump stations that didn't have the right number of pumps or the right size pumps, but we haven't seen the final report yet on that project. But we estimate it to be in about $400,000 range for this phase.
And how'd you go about that funding for the city of Waveland?
Through ARPA.
ARPA.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it sounds like it needs to be done. Anybody got any more?
Motion approved.
Motion to authorize city engineer to advertise bids for ARPA Sewer Improvements Project Phase, Bay St. Louis Lift Station Assessment Project.
Second.
Second. You made the motion. Councilman Seal makes the motion. Councilman Hoffman seconds. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Councilman Salvo at the room.
Okay.
Go ahead for your next one.
Thank you for that. Second action item is authorization to approve change order 1 to Bay St. Louis City-wide Sewer Improvement Project Phase 1. This will add several new pay items. We've talked several times about trying to do some of these repairs to the existing sewer system with an internal liner as opposed to digging them up and disturbing the road or the side of the ditch, things like that. So what BLD did was they gave us a cost breakdown and we added some quantity to that. So the change order total is about $97,150. Those final numbers will be determined on what's actually performed in the field. We do have a couple of point repairs that we've identified that we feel like we can repair internally, so we save on asphalt, we save on backfill, we save on pipe replacement. So we're asking to approve this change order to add it to the contract. So as we get those situations in the field, we can apply this type of repair as opposed to traditional dig and replace.
Yep. Good. Motion.
Second.
I'll say motion to authorize approved change order from 1 for Bay St. Louis Citywide Sewer Improvement to include new pay items. Councilman Seal makes motion. Councilman Reed seconds. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you for that.
Go ahead.
So our final action item tonight, we discussed this at a meeting a couple weeks ago for the unit price repair contract. We broke it up into 3 different types of work, utilities, or roadway, concrete, and asphalt, and drainage. We're still working on the utility pay items. That's a little bit more complex. So we'll bring that to you probably at the next meeting. But what we're looking at here is a unit price contract that would be for 1 year. We would put this out for bids, and we could select up to 3 contractors, and the city could determine in the best interest of timing and price what would be the most beneficial for a work order from those 3 contractors. The way we have this set up is to have a 1-year contract with an additional extension of up to, I think, 3 years with approval of both the city and the contractor. And then we did add CPI index to increase or decrease the unit prices based on whatever the previous year's CPI it's adopted, the federal
Jason,
CPI.
does the contractor have the ability year to year to negotiate that, or they say, look?
No, that's
here-
standard. If they don't agree to it, then we'll either go to the second
We
contractor
have to
or
put it
we'll
out
rebid
again.
it.
We have to put it out for bid then? Because the initial is good for 1 year, and
Good
then
for
we
1
have
year.
multiple years after that. But if
Right.
the contractor that's engaged says, hey, that's too low, we can't do it, we would put it out for bid again.
But we could throw that contractor out
You got
and we could
3.
go to the second or third contract.
But it would
that's
go
already
based
in
on the
contract.
original bid price.
Right.
Motion.
Anybody else have anything?
Same thing the county does, basically, huh?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to authorize the city engineer to advertise bids for a unit price maintenance contract for asphalt roadway, concrete repairs, and drainage repairs.
Motion.
Motion, Councilman Salvo. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman, man, I just forgot your name.
Sorry, it's Lewis.
Happens when you get old.
And let's see, we have, any more discussion? Vote to motion?
Aye.
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 Aye, Councilman, motion carries 7-0. Councilman Salvo is back in the room. City clerk's report?
The first motion is
I'll have to
dealing with
recuse
Bay
myself
Carpet.
on this
Yeah.
one.
So we're asking for a motion to accept the lowest and best quote from Bay Carpet Interiors for $42,232.90 to replace the flooring in Old Town Community Center. This is part of Gulf Coast Restoration Fund grant on that building. We didn't put it as part of our other contract with David Rush, just because there's no reason to mark it up type of thing.
All right.
And we wanted to also make sure we had enough money to do it. So this is paid for with that grant.
I'll make a motion.
And we had 2 quotes, and this is the lower one.
All right. Yes. I'll make a motion. You wanna run, huh?
I'll second.
All right. Motion DeSalvo, second Hoffman. Any discussion? And vote the motion?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 6-0. You can tell Mr. Noblock come back in.
Caitlin, if you can just note for the minutes that Mr. Novak left and then when he came back.
back.
Talking to Jason.
Keep going.
He's coming. Well, he was.
That candy over there, girl. Pushing it up by me. Get this candy, Mike.
Okay, grant anticipation loan. Okay, Mike, I asked you to take this off the agenda for a motion and push this to the next council. But we can discuss it.
Yeah. So, again, this is not obligating the city to any money. This is basically our next step. We've got the FEMA grant for Ida Roads increased based on the bid. We have sent.
Jason just told
FEMA
me you don't have that.
I'm sorry?
Jason just told me you don't have that. You're waiting for approval from FEMA.
We received the increase to fund FEMA, the Ida Roads as it was bid for
Waiting on
DBST.
improvement
After
project.
that was approved, the council authorized us to send a letter to FEMA to make a request to do an improved project using asphalt. We're waiting on that reply.
Okay.
That could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, or if not more. We
And
met
they
with
still gotta
FEMA
go
last
out for
week.
bid after that.
If it's approved as asphalt, at that point, we gotta design and rebid it. If they turn us down, then we go with our current bid that's sitting out there for the DBST.
Did Jason leave?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the approved material? Asphalt, I'm assuming.
DPST.
Over.
Currently is the DBST with the hazard.
No, but what would be the recommended?
The recommended, which we've
Asphalt, right.
requested, was to go with asphalt. So we've submitted that to FEMA.
But if they
the
deny
council
that,
authorized.
if in a couple months we learn they deny it, we go back with the
Then
same
we have to
material
go
that
back
failed.
and use the DBST,
If you want to use FEMA funding.
if you want to use FEMA.
But why
funding.
would you go back to using that? If it floods, it's just gonna destroy it once more.
A lot of those roads have held up. And this is also go back in with a geo
It's adding GeoGrid.
grid
I mean, I'm
to it
thinking
as well.
It's adding a mitigation factor
Yeah,
to it.
and that's what.
That's
a
like about
big
$500,000
yeah.
in the project.
And that GeoGrid will hold the base together
So-
better.
I just don't
So-
have any faith in that, but that's, will be the
So
next
what-
council to decide.
But the motion basically is trying to put a resolution to put our professionals in place, both Butler Snow and our financial advisor, which is Jason, who is here, just like we did the last FEMA project. And this is the way we had it for budget purposes, was for these two large projects, for cash flowing them, because it'll take us 2 years to get this reimbursed to the city, is to pay for it through a grant anticipation loan. If the council decides not to, and again, we're not spending any money, we're not obligating the city to any money.
Well, like I said,
We're getting them
I'm-
engaged.
Like I said, I'm not gonna allow it to vote. It can go to the next council. It's not a council decision. I set the agenda.
Mhm.
And I asked you to take it off, and I told you why. Because of the dollar amount,
Mhm.
and it's good, like I said, this is gonna be for the next council.
That's what we all want to do. I mean, we're pushing that project out.
With,
And this doesn't, I mean, to do this step is not interfering with anything with the council. You're not obligating the council to any money. The fees from these guys can't be paid through general fund or your budget. It's paid from the proceeds. And all the way up until you sign that document, at any point, the council says, we don't want to do this, you owe $0 to anybody. But it allows them to start working on our behalf to save time.
yes. And
So it's up to y'all.
can you step up, Jason, please? How long of a process is this, right? I'm sorry.
From the time if you engage us tonight, and you wanted to proceed, it would take about 3 months from start to finish to do the next. That would include the time where I would go out, send out an RFP to banks that might be interested, get those back in, negotiate, make a recommendation as to which one is the best, and then the time for validation. The council will have to accept in this case, a note purchase agreement from the successful bidder. That's a council action. That's not something I or anybody else can do on your behalf. And only at that point are you obligated to proceed. And even then, because this is a grant anticipation note, which works like a non-revolving line of credit, you know, you pay the professionals, that's usually the first draw on these things. but then you draw that grant down as you need it to reimburse yourself until eventual future reimbursement by FEMA, which can, or whoever's administering the grant, which can take, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not, most of the time it's
So Jason, you mentioned, or Mike Russo mentioned, could take 2 years for FEMA to reimburse. What's the interest level in 2 years?
What's that?
What's the interest level in 2 years? What's the anticipated?
Well, no, the interest rate remains the same from the time you do it.
But what's the accumulation? Dollar amount?
What interest rate you got right now?
What dollar
But
amount?
the interest rate right now, I don't have an interest rate right now. We won't know that till we got back proposals from banks and accepted. The last one y'all did, the interest rate that was accepted, I believe, was around 6.17. And it only accrues upon, not upon the whole balance of the note, but only upon, each drawdown as you make it until it's reimbursed. You make a drawdown, once you get reimbursed from grant proceeds, you pay down the note. We set up these notes to mature in 2 years. The last couple ones I've done that, not for y'all, but for others as well. Because if you do it just for a year, sometimes project's not done in a year, you have to go back out and do that process again. If it's not working. That interest rate does reset at the end of the first year, so it could go up or down, but you basically just predict.
Did we ever validate, Mike, if this was, the interest was reimbursable?
They told us again, with the MEMA meeting we had last week, I'm trying to figure out what day it was, Thursday, I think we met with MEMA. And confirmed again, they said this is definitely eligible for reimbursement,
Can they get it in writing?
for interest.
Yeah,
Yes.
they get it in writing.
I'm sorry?
Can they get it in writing?
I don't know the answer to that. This
I mean,
was
I would think.
talked
they
in the
can
meeting.
tell us anything they
Yeah.
want, but just get it in writing.
And
I
that's-
think that would cover our.
Be able to
Again, that's
verify
been
what he's saying.
a question the whole time, but
But can, yeah, let's just get it in writing.
like I told the lady in FEMA, or MEMA, should I say, you know, between these two projects, you're talking about $7 million, which is half of your general fund for the year, basically.
Plus the two
mean-
and a half of the other grant anticipation loan.
When I'm talking about both projects together,
Both of 'em
it's about $7 million. We can't be without $7 million for 2 years and cash flow that. We need the grass anticipation loan to do these two FEMA projects.
But to put DVST back in the same thing, that would be double down.
Right now, that's all they've
Insanity.
approved. We've asked them, we've sent the request to put asphalt. We'll see what FEMA says. Can't control that.
And Councilman DeSalvo, I mean, this is your ward, I mean, in terms of the preferred material, again, asphalt over DBST,
Yes,
right?
correct.
And we might know 2 to 3 months when that occurs?
We hope
Yes.
sooner.
We hope sooner.
Hope sooner.
And from reading
just
the
no-
They've
letter,
had it for about a month now.
Yeah.
and from the letter they sent us, it sounded like, since they was both asphalt-based materials, that was a real high probability that they would let us do the switch, since it wasn't going to concrete from asphalt or something, since they both the same like material, they didn't see a problem with switching it most likely, so I think we're gonna get a good ruling on that, so.
And if that happens, then we've got to redesign and rebid.
Yes, yes, because it's gonna be,
Jason, just to
Different.
confirm, again, your process with Butler Snow trying to work on this grant anticipation loan is easily not going to obligate the city until this new council is seated.
That's right.
So the new council is the one that would actually have to vote to say yes to the new debt,
Well, I could say two things.
not this
One,
council. But at least
that-
we can get
if
work.
that is what the council wants to do. When it comes to debt, it does not work like the prohibition on contracts does on your successors as it does other things. When it comes to debt, that prohibition doesn't apply. But you can easily, just in the natural occurrence of how this will play out, let the new council be the one whether or not to actually execute the note purchase agreement and to proceed forward with that particular obligation. One thing I wanted to mention, just to make sure everybody understands it, this isn't like a credit card. So over the time that the note is outstanding, if you draw down on the principal for approved expenses, and that would be approved expenses under the project, then you get reimbursed from grant proceeds. You have to pay down the note right then. It does not create borrowing capacity again. You can only draw up to the maximum amount of the note for the entire life. It doesn't renew like a revolving credit.
And if you get $200,000 reimbursed, you pay the $200,000 immediately.
That's right.
You can't hold on to it.
No, you
use it
can't
for
hold
something
on
else
to
or
it. You
whatever.
can't use it for something else.
Pay it out.
Required to go ahead and pay down the balance on the note.
there's nothing wrong with us doing this. Correct,
And once again, the reason for 3 months is, I'll have to write, actually, I've already written an RFP. I've had the one I did last time. But I send it out to the banks, answer all their questions. That takes time. The validation process, that by itself takes about 3 to 4 weeks. That's where you go to chance report and get it approved.
So this is just getting us 3 months ahead right now for the new council to see that.
It allows me and the other professionals, Butler Snow in this case, to go ahead and start taking specific action and making specific recommendations on this. Under the rules, under the regulations that I operate under as a municipal advisor, I'm only supposed to give y'all general information until I've been engaged.
Would you start accumulating professional fees for that?
I do not. I don't get paid until a note purchase agreement is executed and it's put in place.
So if next council says we're not doing it, you just work for free for them
That's it.
3 months.
I mean, we've been through this process once before with this council. There was a time when we went out and got proposals for a grant anticipation note, and this was several years ago, that the council ultimately decided not to proceed with, and that was it. No fees were owed, no money was borrowed.
That was at 0.8%, wasn't it?
That was 0.87%, I believe. That was when rates were extremely low, following the pandemic. They aren't that low now.
My biggest disagreement with this is going back with the same stuff. Because if you put the same DBST back there, it's not recommended for that area.
That is not my bailiwick.
Yeah,
at
I
all.
understand.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's one of my biggest reasons why I won't even bring this up for a vote tonight.
Well, that's why we asked them to switch it to the asphalt, because that's.
Well, if they come back tomorrow with it, then let's put it back on the docket, and I'd be glad to do it.
Well, I mean,
But I'm not going to do it with DBST is the only option at this point. Matter of fact, I got a letter from an engineer with the state that says DBST is not a good item to put back there. We can make it part of the minutes.
I'm sure y'all sharing that letter. I see y'all probably sharing that one, but anyway.
What's that?
I'm sure y'all sharing that letter, but
Oh, you seen it?
so, no, I heard about it, social media.
Here you go. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
I got plenty.
Thank you.
It's from your opponent.
That's what I figured. Anyway.
I'll get you a copy. Thank
So you're not gonna bring it up for a motion?
No, I'm not.
Attorney, does he have that power not to do it? My reading of Robert's Rule of Order, if he wants to execute that, is
I set the agenda.
I can still make a motion, and if I receive a second, I can call it to a vote, and we can proceed. Is that correct? in the
Not
Robert's
if I
Rule of
don't
Order?
open the floor to a vote.
If you don't open the floor, I still have the ability.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Well, pull it up. Pull it up. Come on.
So
If you want to hijack it,
no, I'm asking you to do something, but if the motion fails, let it fail, but you sitting here trying to not even bring it to a vote is not very good.
you're talking about a huge loan on Mr. Hoffman is up for reelection. You have, the council's not set. This is a lame duck council, and you want to spend $3.5 million on the same stuff that you put back there that failed, that we're still paying for the next 20 years.
So it was agreed on in council to put this back there.
Under your recommendation.
Okay, you still voted for it.
Well, I'm not going to vote
So,
again.
so again,
I voted for the whole
what-
package.
I'll take
that's
the
right.
blame for it. Put
And
it
if
on
you'd
me.
have done,
I'll
if
take
you'd
it.
have,
Yeah,
if
but
you would have,
you're
if
gonna
you would have
you're
used,
gonna enslave people in Ward
the
1,
road
2, 3,
grading,
4, and 5.
if you would have
Where's
used the
fat
road
five
grading
go?
that we paid for to have, then maybe we'd have had the money to put asphalt on the road.
Get
So when you're looking at dirt roads, is it inferior to dirt roads? No. Is it inferior to asphalt? Yes. That's, DBST has been back there for many years in many areas, underwater and all, and has lasted.
Well, I haven't seen
So-
any certified pours or anything like that when it was put back.
And,
But
just like was
I don't
stated
have to bring this
also.
up for a vote, and we're a lame duck council, and this is for the next council.
I'm asking you to bring it up for a vote.
I will not bring it up for a vote.
Do I have the power to bring it up for a vote myself?
Let me see.
Because I don't believe the president can not do that, from everything I've read.
Well, why don't you bring up what you read?
I'll have to Google it. I read it a couple months ago. So, read Robert's Rule of Law, Order. Yeah. Anyone can make a motion if the president does not
No.
recognize it.
No. I am not gonna indebt this city for something for an
You
inferior
can vote
material.
no, just like me. You got one vote like the rest of us. Everybody can vote the way they want to vote, is the thing. We all have one vote. You're no better than anybody else up here because you're the president right now, Mr. No Block. You are no better. You have no more power.
You
You
don't
have
have to
one
get
vote.
upset about it because you don't get your way.
Dude, you're such an asshole.
That's very distinguished.
Yes.
Speak into the mic.
I will. I don't have a problem. This is
You
why
do
you,
have a
this is
problem.
why you're not the mayor. This is why you lost, because you've been treating Ward 6 like this for 8 years.
I've never not.
And tried to do everything you could to stop it, Mr. Noblock, and it's ridiculous, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I'm not ashamed of myself.
I know, you should
I look
be.
for the rest of the taxpayers that got to fit the bill for this.
Well, go watch other stuff from your opponent where,
Guys, let's move on.
where we should be
Let's
sued
move on.
because we haven't done it in 20 years like we're supposed to do
I'm
when the
not bringing
annexation
this
came
up for a
through.
vote.
I'm out of here, y'all. This guy's
Like I said, if the FEMA wants to approve the better material, I'll bring it back up for a vote. I will not bring it up for a vote for DBST.
July can't get here fast enough for this fellow to be going.
Well, you just only got 5 more meetings. City clerk's report, motion to approve docket of claims, 25-013 dated April 8th, 2025, in the amount of $2,260,392.52.
I received a couple of questions from a council member, answered all of them.
What were the questions, for the record?
One of them was, basically the corporate name for Goodwill, Goodyear out of Long Beach. What does that bill for? And I had to go dig to see what invoice it was. But it was the Goodyear in Long Beach for the police cars.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
Make a motion, Councilman, Lewis.
Second.
Second, Councilman Hoffman. Any questions, discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Councilman Seal and DeSalvo are not present. Consent agenda? Oh, bring up, pull up 27 and I'll explain what you said, Mike, about what Push said about these cars.
You said pull it up? I mean,
Yeah, I'll
what do
just
you
take
wanna
it
do?
out of consent agenda, we'll just
Okay.
talk about it separately. Motion to approve consent agenda, items 22 through 39, with the exception of 27 and 28.
Motion.
Motion, Councilman Hoffman,
Second.
second by Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 5-0. Let's see, 27, Push gave a detailed report. Can you make that part of the minutes?
We did.
Okay.
She added it to the agenda packet.
Okay, motion is surplus the following: police vehicles because they are obsolete, beyond repair, too costly to repair, or damaged, destroyed, and to authorize the city administration to dispose of these city assets. I'm going to dispense on reading every number on here. It's part of the record. For item 27 and 28. Oh, we'll do 27 first. You have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilman Davis. Second, Councilman Hoffman. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Discussion?
What was the question on this?
So I questioned the value of them and that they were all in the state of disrepair. Push, Lieutenant, what's his name?
Push Phillips.
Push Phillips. That's his real name, Push?
Well, I didn't check the birth certificate, but
Okay,
that's
well,
what
anyway,
I
he
We
gave
go
a
by.
very detailed report of the condition of all the vehicles. And so I was in agreement with it. And basically, you're saying that a lot of them don't run, and this county's gonna use them for parts for their vehicles, most of them.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Is there any more discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 5-0. Motion to authorize administration to sell 8 vehicles to the Hancock County Sheriff's Department for a lump sum of $16,000, same vehicles. You have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilman Lewis.
Second.
Second, Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 5-0. So we're not going in executive session today? No. Any determination from the mediation?
Not where we want to be.
All right, motion to spread cash balances, item 40, wage and hours report, detailed grant revenue, grant and intergovernmental revenue report, gaming sales tax, report, harbor report, March chamber meetings report.
Motion.
Motion, Councilman Reed,
Second.
second, Councilman Hoffman. Any discussion? Vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 5-0. Okay, there's no executive session. Do you have a attorney's report for us or anything? What's your name?
I'm JD Luffy. I work with Heather.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Hoffman, Councilman Reed, motion adjourned. Vote the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0.